my name is Jyoti Vandari and my student ID number is EMV22569. We are from S211 group. Today I am going to give introduction to our topic, which is about AXS principle and recommendation about corporate governance in 8 different ways. This report is also including the reasons and likely impact of full adoption of individual level of corporate governance, principle and recommendation that may have substantial impact on firm performance. So now I am going to explain our first principle with recommendation about corporate governance. So that is, lay solid foundation for management and oversight. A registered firm must eventually state all particular responsibility with respect to management and board, continuously appraisal their level of performance. So recommendation for the above topic is, a firm listed on AXS must ensure all show character to board based on the responsibility of respective management and board. Second recommendation for the same topic is, a firm listed on AXS must have proper agreement in form of written statement with individual senior executive and director in respect of all particular terms of their job position. Another one is, the secretary of the firm of listed company must be liable directly to the concerned board with the matters that all things to do in the life with adequate running of board. So, another principle is going to explain by our next team member. Thank you.
My name is Rohit Gupta and my student ID is EMB22566. Today I am going to explain about the principle of corporate governance and its recommendation. The one of the principle of corporate governance is structure of the board to be effective and add value. It can be explained as that the company's board must attain with the adequate level of scope and jointly have potential abilities, knowledge and commitment of body. And so one of the recommendations for this topic is, the board of the listed firm must have committee of nomination that have minimum of 3 member, committee character and committee member, and the last is attendance or number of the times the respective committee happened during the specific period. The next principle is, instill a culture of acting lawfully, ethically and responsibly. It can be explained as a registered firm on AXS must instill and continuously make sure a culture across the company of performing responsibly, ethically and lawfully. Here, a listed firm must disclose and articulate its value regarding their norms and principles which describe its type of organization and what target required for its employee, senior executive and director to attain that objective. The last principle I am going to explain is, safeguard the integrity of corporate report. It can be explained as a registered firm must need adequate level of procedure to confirm honestly of their business analysis statement. This entitles that a listed firm must show its system to check the level of reliability of particular firm with respect to the financial statement to potential investor which isn't received or audited by external auditor. So now the remaining principle of the corporate governance and its recommendation gonna explain by my fellow member. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. My name is Nirvachan Oli. My student ID is EMB22704. So discussing about the principle and recommendations about the ASX, I'd like to continue with the 6 principles, which is make timely and balanced disclosure. As we know that the ASX functions as a market operator, thus a registered firm on ASX must ensure balanced and timely matters. Surprising fact regarding that a sound individual will assume to need substantial impact on securities value or price. The recommendations. One of the recommendations shows that the listed firm must ensure that its board of directors attend duplicates of entire relevant substantial potential investors' declarations sharp afterward they are prepared. Also, second recommendations presents that a listed firm which provides a substantive and new investors presentations must issue duplicate of material presentations on Australian Stock Exchange platform for market statements onwards of demonstrations. And the principles and recommendations about the CG, which is corporate governance, is respect the rights of security holders. Here's a listed firm must make sure its security holders with adequate level of data and amenity towards the permit them for applications they privilege as investors. Following the recommendations, it shows that a listed firm must make sure to disclose data or information about its governance and itself to investors through its online platform or portal. Also, second recommendation shows that the listed firm must have investors relationships systems which enable well two-way investors communications structures. Thank you. Now I would like to call my friend Susma to continue with the further principles and recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirvan. Hi, my name is Sushma Joshi and my student ID is OED2382. Today I am going to discuss about the remaining three principles of corporate governance. They are recognize and manage risk, remunerate fairly and responsibly, and impact of implementation of all ASX principle and recommendation about corporate governance. So, recognize and manage risk. A registered firm must make sure a reasonable risk assessment and management system and periodically analyze the usefulness of that context. One of the recommendations of this principle is the listed firm board must have a committee to manage that minimum of 3 members, chaired by autonomous director, committee charter, committee member, attendance or number of times the respective committee happened during the specific period. And the other principle is remunerate fairly and responsibly. A registered firm must have the compensation remuneration director ample in order to retain, attract more quality skilled members and plan exclusive compensation to influence, motivate and maintain more skilled senior executives to ensure the level of commitment with formation of significance for investors as well as firm's risk appetite and values. One of the recommendation for this principle is recommendation 8.2. This recommendation entitles that a listed firm must distinctly disclose its practices and policies about compensation of senior executive directors and non-executive directors. Now the next principle is the impact of implementation of all ASX principles and recommendation about corporate governance. The key aim of corporate governance is to identify structure of processes, arrangement, relationships and guidelines is controlled and exercised within organization by that authority. The main factors of successful corporate governance principles and recommendations on the company are continuous self-assessment, information sharing and transparency, fairness to investors and employees, commitment and discipline, placement of well and appropriate level of risk management practices, an appropriate action plan for the corporate success, accountability and responsibility. Now the next part will be discussed by my group member Salina Bista. Thank you.
Thank you, Susma. Hi, I'm Salina Bista. My student ID is OED2380. Today I'm going to talk about full adaptation of 8 ASX corporate governance principles. That includes the 4 factors of risk assessment. And the 4 factors are: number 1, that is audit approach. Audit approach interrelates with different control form of frame as a means of monitoring and controlling that adds value to frame. Number 2, audit strategy. It arrays the path, opportunity, timing and scope of an audit. And the another is audit evidence. Audit evidence is substantiation of proof of document acquired by auditors during the course of financial review and verified in the working papers of audit risk assessment process. ASX clearly says that it is key responsibility of the board for ensuring and determining the extent and nature of the risks that the firm is taking. And that brings me to the end of our presentation. Let me give a brief summary of what we have been talking about over the last few minutes. It is strongly recommended that listed firm on ASX should be prepared to implement all of the 8 corporate governance principles and recommendations to promote and maintain investors' confidence both in local and foreign markets. This report is also underlying that the reasons and likely impact of full adaptation of all CG principles and recommendations which will have significant influence on in-Teti growth. Thank you.